game might have started. I have the wrong password. Let me just take a quick look at the password again. Right, I lacked the number. Okay. Fabulous. So, we have Oryx Wild as Scorpion versus Mirumoto Kai as Dragon, and they have done their mulligans. Yes, I am good. So, this is the top 16 of Season 8 of Discord League Legend of the Five Rings Cup. And we do see that the Dragon player is the first player to... He has the first play token, so he's the first player and can start playing. And the Scorpion player has a pretty decent flop, pretty much what you want to see as a Scorpion. You find a Bushy Liar, you find a couple of cheap dudes. And the Dragon player gets the passing fate, so he passes first in Dynasty phase and he gets an extra fate because of this. Both players bid 5. And let's see, so from the Scorpion side there are a few cards to watch out for. Obviously there's the Forged Edict, but I don't think the Dragon player is going to play many events. So Forged Edict is a card that cancels any event the opponent plays. I'm gonna pull up my chat and see if there's anyone saying anything to me. Hopefully there should be no issues with the stream. Right, fantastic. Right, so, and you can see there at the chat, so the players are basically telling to each other the way the way play goes here is pretty straightforward. So it's the Dragon player's turn to declare the first conflict, and he's really looking to declare a fire conflict political. I think he has to really... Oh, that's a secret cast. So he has to really look out for a fate worse than death here that just sends this investigator home and does nothing. Actually, let's have a look. The Scorpion player should definitely be on a fate worse than... Yes, he's on 3 fate worse than death. It's nothing much to it. Interesting here. Kami Unleashed rather than Shizuru Sadako. Interesting. It's a bit unorthodox of a Scorpion list. The Dragon list is basically as standard as you can get, with the extra flavor of a Kazuya thrown in. Looking good. Yeah, and we do see pretty much the first thing that happens is a fate worse than death hits the investigator. So fate worse than death bows, dishonors, sends home, and removes a fate from the character. It's pretty much a you don't get to have any fun card. Right, and then we see the Scorpion players use his stronghold to steal an honor from the Dragon player. So basically the Scorpion stronghold says if you're less honorable than your opponent, then you look at your honor totals, which is this value, you steal 1 honor from your opponent. So he had 10 and his opponent had 11, so he uses his stronghold to go to 11 and his opponent goes down to 10. And the Scorpion player attacks into the Dragon player's row and hits Restoration of Balance, the first conflict. So he has to discard down to 4 cards in hand, so he has to discard 5 cards from his hand. This is basically never what you want to see as a Scorpion player. It's really, really awful. Because you rely very much on what's in your hand to do everything you want. So at least he gets a little bit of effect out of that because he went Earth Ring. So at the end of it he gets to draw a card and randomly discard a card from the Dragon player. Alright. Let's see what happens next. So the dragon player passes his conflict. He passes, and he has no ready character, so he passes his conflict as well. So let's see what the Scorpion player can find. Basically, the Scorpion player in this situation wants to find probably Feast or Famine and force a defense from the dragon player. Let's see what's happening. Oh, so a shameful display. Let's see if the dragon player has any conflict characters in hand. Otherwise, this is a very big hit on behalf of the Scorpion, because this guy right here, Mirumoto Resugo, is basically someone that just goes wild against the Scorpion's lineup normally, like, which is usually cheap guys with no fate, and he basically just kills them all the time. Like his action is to challenge another character to a duel, and since he's usually has a bunch of attachments on him, he often wins that duel and therefore kills the other character. Right, we see a Hawk Tattoo move in the Kitsuki Investigator, and we see Shameful Display trigger to make the Kitsuki Investigator neutral instead of dishonored, and we dishonor the Bayushi Liar. But there is no conflict character in the dragon player's hand, and therefore the Shameful Display is broken, which is great for the Scorpion player. The Scorpion player also has 2 ring claims, so when it comes to Emperor's favor, you count the rings and the glory of characters still standing. So it's 2-0, and the Scorpion player gets the Imperial favor, which is a flat bonus during all conflicts of that type. So this is a military Emperor's favor. So during all military conflicts, as long as the Scorpion player has 1 character in the conflict, he gets a flat +1 bonus to that conflict. Right, and we see both player passes, and we go into the next round. The dragon player finds another Mirumoto Retsugu, which he should be super happy about, because it's such a good card against Scorpion in general, and most other clans actually as well. And the Scorpion player sees 2 cheap courtiers, which is always good. So I imagine we're probably going to see from the dragon player here, is probably going to play Retsugu with 3 or 4 fate. That's probably what we're going to see. Yeah, Retsugu with 3 fate. And Oryx is trying to taunt and or bait the dragon player into not playing Retsugu, but it doesn't work out. So will the Scorpion player pass here first for the fate, or will he buy something big like the Oni to actually try and break promises? And we do see him actually buy the Oni, which is a pretty interesting turn of events, in my opinion. That means he actually wants to just try and push through conflicts here and trying to break provinces. Perhaps get a few valuable rings as well, I guess. Oh, he buys another guy. So he's down to 3 fate here. That means he cannot play a Fate Western Death right now, but he also has first player token, so he gets to attack first and pick one of the rings with fate on them. So he will have enough money to play a Fate Western Death if he so desires. Both players bid 5, so both players draw 5 more cards, and then they are now equal on hand size, despite Oryx Wild walking into Restoration of Balance and forced to discard 5. Okay, let's see what's going to happen now. So the Scorpion player passes. I imagine if he wants to do something safe, he'll probably attack into Restorations of Balance. We see a fine katana attached to Mirumoto Resugo. He's basically looking to just instantly duel something. And I can actually see Oryx Wild go something like Void, Restorations of Balance with a Marauding Oni here. Just have a safe province. He's going to try and bait the Retsugu into that fight, because he wants the Retsugu to basically spend his duel on something that doesn't die instantly. We'll see what happens. He can, of course, Hawk Tattoo like the Chuds into this conflict and then kill them. We'll see what happens. Yes, and we do see a Void conflict, and he selects a new province and he finds the Sacred Sanctuary. So the only one that can be there's nothing here, none of them that can be selected for this because this is a monk requirement. So none of them can be selected for to receive the bonus of the Sacred Sanctuary reaction. So he is going to defend with the right Sugo here. If the Scorpion player manages to break this province, this will be huge because this is a very good tempo province for Dragon in general. It just allows him to normally have a guy that stands and then doesn't bow at the end of the conflict. Right, so the first thing that happens is Raitsugo initiates a duel between himself and the Oni, and he wins. Oryx bids 1 and Kai bids 3, and 1 fate gets removed from the Oni. And then we see a Hawk Tattoo pulling in the Kitsuki investigator into this military conflict. So he basically realizes he can't win this military fight, so he pulls in the investigator as well to force them to bow at the end of the conflict and go home. So he should have a free pass to just go a political conflict afterwards. Let's see, does the Dragon player have any conflict characters in hand? He should have one by now. He passes. Alright, if Oryx Wild is smart here, he's gonna go in with like one of these guys. Probably one of them and... okay, one of them and air. Let's see what happens. Restoration of balance, air. So he's basically going hard on trying to dishonor out Mirumoto Kai at this point. Oh, and he wins and he plays Spies at Court. That's a spicy card. Let's see how many of the Spies at Court he plays. He plays 2 Spies at Court. So we do see a Let Go and Finger of Jade removed. So this is actually good news for the Scorpion player. Those are both really good cards. We'll see what happens now. So the Dragon player really has a very decent board, but he's down to 4 honor. So it's basically up to the Dragon player to make stuff happen while these guys are still alive. This is perhaps not exactly what you want to see as the Scorpion player here. You maybe want something slightly more bigger to deal with what's coming out here. I can see Mirumoto Kai here buying something like either Yokoni, Alchemist, or Nitten Master with a bunch of fate on them, and then starting to go hard on the Scorpion provinces. We shall see. Yes, we do see Yokuni with 4 fate. That is a ridiculous amount of fate on Yokuni, but it's probably going to be needed. And we see a Soshi Illusionist with 1 fate. And we see the Scorpion player use Imperial Storehouse. I imagine we're probably going to see Illusionist or Diplomat played. No, none of them. Alright, so the Scorpion player is really relying on what's in his hand to stop this onslaught of Dragon characters. So both players bid 1. Perfectly reasonable. The Scorpion player is now in full dishonor mode, and it's up to the Dragon player to basically break all of the Scorpion player's stuff before he dishonors out. So we see a Mickey Performant, and we see a Cloud of Mind, Court Games, Hurricane Punch, Let Go, On It Fan. So I don't know why he says that. So basically the Dragon player is going to be really strong in political conflicts this round. We'll see what happens. So double court games. He can only play one during a conflict, but that should be fine. A Hurricane Punch to boost military skill and draw a card. 2 let goes, but I don't think the Scorpion player plays many attachments. Let's have a quick check. Cloud the Mind and Hawk Tattoo. Yeah, that's should not be an issue. He might want to try and Cloud the Mind Yukuni here, but I imagine like any sort of like big event, like a Fate Worse Than Death or similar, is going to deal with Yukuni perfectly fine regardless. So after that Meek Informant, and he sees what's in the Dragon player's hand, both player passes and we go into the conflict phase. So the Dragon player has first attack opportunity. The Scorpion player knows exactly what's in the Dragon player's hand. Let's see if he can utilize that. We don't know what's in the Scorpion player's hand. The Scorpion player in this situation probably wants to see something like Fate Worse Than Death, maybe a Magistrate or something. Does he run Magistrate? I'm gonna have a quick look. Cunning Magistrate, yes, he runs a single Cunning Magistrate. Very good card. So Oryx Wild laments that dragon is hard to play against. I don't know if this is exactly what the dragon player wants though. So he basically says that it's really hard for a Scorpion player because a good dragon player don't really make mistakes, or make mistakes that are not easy to capitalize on. So let's see what's going to happen. The ideal situation for the dragon player here is he breaks 2 provinces. He really wants to break 2 provinces this turn because the investigator dies this turn. And there's some back and forth going on. Have we seen who's passed? Alright, so no one has passed. I think the Oryx Wild might be exaggerating a slight bit here. He has seen his hand. He knows there's no protection whatsoever against the Fate Worse Than Death. If he... Oh, and the dragon player actually walks into secret... Oh yeah, because he has Pathfinder's Blade. That makes sense, yeah. So, the dragon player walks in political air into secret cache, and Oryx Wild uses his secret cache to look at the top 5 cards, and he gets to pick whichever card he feels is most useful in this situation. So probably ideally what's going to happen here is, like, if he has a Fate Worse Than Death in hand already, he can actually, even though it's pretty low value, he can Fate Worse Than Death this investigator to stop him from looking at his hand, and then he goes for one of the rings that has 2 fate on them, and then if he has the third of Fate Worse Than Death, he can Fate Worse Than Death one more of these 2, or he can have like a Cunning Magistrate and just wear the Scorpion, and then counter his court games with the court games, and that's perfectly fine as well. Yeah, and we do see a Fate Worse Than Death, bow Dishonor blank, move home, and remove a fate from the Kisugi Investigator. So he did find what he wanted, in a sense. And he can go for one of the 2 fate rings here too. I'd probably go fire, honestly. I'd go fire political with the Meek Informant. Force either one of them to defend. No, not Earth. I force either one of them to defend, or I dishonor the Yukuni and the Yukuni does nothing. We shall see. I mean, Earthring is not bad, but like this basically super clearly signalizes I don't have the last Fate Worse Than Death. I can do nothing against your big guys. So he's going to defend with Yukuni. And there's no way to bow the Yukuni here either. And we do get to see his hand. It's Assassination Banzai, Kachiko, Calling in Favors, Cloud of Mind, Cutting Magistrate, Force Edict, Let Go, Way of the Scorpion. Right, so I get rid of Cutting Magistrate here. And Oryx Wild is a bit salty in chat. I mean, if you go hard for the Dishonor, you have to, you know, be in a situation where you can actually dishonor him out. So I imagine like when Kai had like this low honor and was basically forced to bid 1, I would have probably just slammed the 5 bid as Oryx Wild and then sort of like slowly dragged him down instead. Because unless you can actually close it out, like these characters, even if they're dishonored, they're gonna stick around forever. So you just need more cards to deal with them. I also think he might have overspent a bit on his characters. It's interesting to see that Kai chooses Kachiko because he knows he has Way of the Scorpion and Cunning Magistrate. Of course, he can just duel him off with Raitsugo, I guess, unless he baits it to duel the Illusionist. We shall see. So he plays court games to honor Yukuni. And he wins the conflict. That Yukuni is big for next run. Yeah, I think it was a tad bit too early to try and go for the dishonor play. You need a bunch more of the actual cards in your hand that dishonors, I think. Yeah, and I honestly do think that he should have attacked with one of the 2 fated rings. Doesn't really matter which one it was. Should have just attacked with the 2 fated rings. Fire would probably have been fine. And now he's going to drop the Magistrate, and the Magistrate is just going to get dueled off. It's not worth it. Well, I guess it's actually kind of worth it because he can. He still has a military conflict. You can go military air and drop him down to actually 1 honor because this Kitsuki Investigator is leaving play. Cool. That's an interesting chain of events. Yeah. So he's not going to break Secret Cache here actually, and he only has to play 2 Let Goes to make that happen. That's actually a pretty good trade for the Scorpion player, in my opinion. And here you... No. That's... Okay, yeah, fair. Wow. Now he's not dishonored. Now it's yeah, basically the dragon player was dead if he bid anything over 1. Yeah, the dragon player was basically just dead if he bid anything over than 1. I think he could have there's a few ways he could have survived, but yeah, it's he's now out of dishonor range. He's perfectly fine. Yeah, this is oh yeah. I would have gone fire here and dishonor the Yukuni down to regular, in my opinion. It's a waste of a Cutting Magistrate. It's fair. We'll see what happens. See what happens. I mean, he does do get to go fire first next round and just grab 3 fade out of it. It's okay. But in an ideal world, he beats 1 in that duel, the duel ties, nothing happens, and then he goes air and drops him down to 1. And Oryx Wild is pretty tilted. Honestly, don't know why. See what happens. Next round. Okay, interesting. Does he save any one of these characters? I've probably tossed the Falling Diplomat here, and honestly, the Sinister Soshi is not going to do much. Yeah, he's tossing them both. And he finds a Sakujin, a Feronis, and a Manipulator, and a Dojo. He should just pass first here. Just pass first. Instantly pass. Easy. Excuse me. Why is he buying that? I'm guessing he assumes he's fine. He's down so low on hand size as well. We do know like the Dragon player's hand size is basically fan, let go, something else. I'm gonna check. We're gonna scroll up until we see what happened. We're gonna see that we have found so 1 Court Games, 1 Hurricane Punch, fan, let go. Okay. And we do see a Nitten Master with 3 Fate play. And we see a Togashi Mendicant played. Okay. As a Scorpion player here, I'm probably considering just allowing the Dragon player to wreak havoc on my line here and trying to just make a valiant attempt on his stronghold next turn. We don't know, like it all depends on what's still left in the Scorpion player's hand. We do see the bids, so it's a 1 to 3 bid. So Oryx Wild goes 1 and Mirumoto goes 3, and Raitsugu is dishonored, so he's basically down to 2 honor. And we see the Social Illusionist remove this the status token from Yukuni, and I imagine probably Yukuni is going to copy from Illusionist instead. We do see that one Imperial Storehouse is being sacrificed for Kai, so he has a very decent hand size here. So he's going to go in and he's basically going to bait Raitsugu into committing. But basically what's going to happen is Raitsugu is going to commit, duel, and then head off. Because Raitsugu is still 1 ahead of the Illusionist, and he's going to bid 1. Yeah, or he just goes Yukuni, copy, duel, and kills this, and then moves him back. That's perfectly fine as well. He did get 3 fate off that firing, though. That's pretty easy. So let's see, what does the Yukuni copy here? Him not defending with the Nitten Master basically signifies he didn't find a weapon in that 4 draw. Because if he has a weapon here, he defends with Nitten Master every time, I think. We shall see. So if the firing goes off here, this Yukuni is going to be a 2-2, which is not very good for the Dragon player. And the Dragon player is basically deciding what he wants to defend with. I mean, so if he defends with Yukuni, he has the option to either copy. If he has a weapon, he can either copy Nathan Master and then stand Yukuni back up again after, or he can copy Raitsugo and duel off this Illusionist the first action. Both are good. Alright, so we see Yukuni copy Raitsugo, so Yukuni is basically going to duel this Illusionist off the table, and then probably going to go back home with favorable ground. I mean, if the Scorpion player passes here, I can see the Dragon player just passing, taking the win, and then using the favorable ground to move Yukuni in some other time to duel off something else. We don't know. But if we do see the duel, I imagine we're actually going to see Yukuni get out. No, so he just takes the safe route. So he just threatens to duel, but doesn't actually do it. That means he can put him in another conflict and duel fairly safely at some other point. I definitely think it's a mistake here for the Dragon player to go into Secret Cache. Like, having the Scorpion player search his top 5 cards for exactly the card he wants is a bit of a suicide thing at this point. I don't like it. So I think he has to look at any of the other provinces and just try and find something. I'd probably go in solo with Raitsugo and then move in something else afterwards, because if you go into a shameful display, it's not so bad because Raitsugo is already dishonored. But if you go in and it's a shameful display and you bring your Neat and Master and you can and Neat and Master gets dishonored, that's a lot of stats you're missing out on. So we do see the Neat and Master attacking with Void. That's a bit optimistic in my opinion. Is he going to go political? The way he's attacking is basically making me think he's going to go political, because if he brings both of these and then he plays a court games to honor the Nathan Master, and if the Scorpion player plays a court games back, he can just dishonor the Togashi again. But that is actually really dangerous because he's down to really low honor. And we do see it's a shameful display. And I think this might be a little bit premature. I mean, he's probably just going to move in either Yukuni or Raitsuga at this point. Although, if the Scorpion player has any effect, any sort of like dishonor effect in his hand, like a Way of the Scorpion or a For Shame or anything of those, he can probably have a fairly good time. So the Dragon player is set to look to be down to 1 honor by now, unless he has a couple of reprieves in his hand, which is totally possible. It's going to be pretty rough for the Dragon player. Right. So he plays. So the Dragon player plays a Hurricane Punch to get to draw a card and boost his military skill. So he needs to be really careful here. Like if he suspects that Shameful Display is actually going to break, and he doesn't have anything in hand. Oh, that's a very nice touch. So he assassinates the Togashi Menikent. That's really good. That's a really strong play actually. So let's see. What do we see? So assassination goes down. Menikent is gone. Does the Dragon player have anything else? Like he desperately needs a reprieve by now to salvage this turn, basically. If he doesn't have a reprieve, he's going to have a really bad time next turn. Like, if he doesn't have a reprieve and the Scorpion player has a Way of the Scorpion for this Wanderer, that's just game. The Scorpion player has also banked a lot of fate. We could easily see him, like, if he doesn't have anything good in hand, he can just buy out the favored knees and the reclusive Tsukujin. Oh, and the Scorpion player actually wins this conflict. So yeah, we do see favored knees come down, and we see him save exactly 4 fate. And we see him discard Cloud the Mind to draw a card, because he knows this 2 let goes in the dragon player's hand. I imagine he's going to try and go yeah, political air into restorations of balance. I mean, he knows he's not going to win this unless he has exactly Fate Worse Than Death and his only defense with Neaten Master. That would be pretty sick, actually. I think the Dragon player still has a court games though, so if everything just goes absolutely awful, he can court games and force favored knees to dishonor and be a 0-0. Let's see what happens. Does he have the Fate Worse Than Death to send the Neaten Master home? So we actually place court games to honor the Neaten Master first. I think this might be a mistake. Do you see a Social Illusionist? We could see the Social Illusionist get in and remove the honor status. Yeah. I mean, he could still sit on a reprieve and does not die, but it's a very decent chance that he might win this game because of this. Oh, now he can duel someone off, so he should definitely use the Illusionist quickly. Or if he can, if at all possible. No, like Dishonor here on Yukuni doesn't do enough. Yeah, he can duel off this Social Illusionist. So it dies. And we'll see what happens. Does the Scorpion player have any more tricks? Way of the Scorpion. Like just one more, for shame. Court games of his own. Yes, for shame. And Neaten Master is dishonored. And Neaten Master is attached to Fan, so he's back to not winning this conflict. Apparently people are tearing this stuff. No, there's nothing important. So I think he overspent a tiny bit on the favored knees. I think he probably should have played 1 less for knees and then played an extra for the Social Illusionist. And he now pulls in Reitsugo, so he's going to be completely bad out. So does Mirumoto Kai have a reprieve to save him 1 more round? That is going to be the big question here. That could be what's really important. Yeah, he probably should have dueled. This would have been 3-2-2. Alright, and he actually does have a weapon, so he plays Ancestral Daisho and ready as Neaten Master. Neaten Master is going to go in and he's going to break whatever he wants. Not whatever he wants, but he can break Shameful Display for sure. I would break Shameful Display for sure. The Hidden Moon Doji is a very strong card. And an Earth Ring on top of that is going to be just... Yeah, I think the Dragon player is probably safe here. He's going to be first next turn. He can just go air and be completely out of harm's way and then just keep rolling until he wins the game. It's probably not a good position to be a Scorpion player at this point. And we do see a Forged Edict at random. I'm a bit surprised that that Forged Edict was not played on the court games. I'm guessing he was holding out for something bigger. Interesting. If the Scorpion player runs I Can Swim, yeah? One I Can Swim. Yeah, he's already discarded one I Can Swim. I think he did that in the beginning. Yeah, so otherwise he could have been a bit of sneaky 2 here and killed off this Nathan Master probably. Ooh, that's a blackmail artist. That is very interesting. He would have wanted that last round, if I'm honest. Yeah, the Dragon player just plays Mitsu with 2 Fate, so he has a very, very solid board. He now just have to break stuff on the Scorpion player side. I think the Scorpion player should probably just bid 5 here, give 4 to him, so he goes down to 3, and then use box to go back up to 4. Yeah, that's actually a reasonable thing to do. So the Scorpion player should probably have just bid 5 here and equalize, and they're still really low on honor because the Dragon player is gonna have first conflict, so he is going to go air first, like regardless, and get out of the real dishonor range. So we'll see what's going on. Could actually just bid, since he has storehouse, you can just bid 4 as well. But honestly, just bidding 5 here is the Scorpion player, so just switch the honor goes from 7 to 3, and the opponent goes to, I guess, 5, and then you both go to 4. Is, I think, decent. Blackmail artist and gets played, and we do see the Imperial Storehouse gets played, and there's only 3 Fate in the Scorpion player's bank, and I think this is a mistake because you want to threaten the last of Fate worse than death here. You really do want to threaten the last of Fate worse than death. You want to represent it. You want the opponent to fear it. Right. Right. So he's basically banking on finding. Yeah, if he goes political with a not enough large force and he has a fate worse than death, this blackmail artist can just win him the game. But yeah, this will be really tricky. This will get really tricky. I disagree with Oryx Wild here. I think there's definitely stuff you can do as Scorpion against Dragon. I don't think it's easy, but I think there's definitely things you can do against Dragon. Right. So he uses Yukuni to copy the blackmail artist. So he's probably going to go air and political and just go in with everything. He's probably find another weapon and just be completely out of dishonor range and fine. I guess. Maybe not everyone. Maybe just Nita Master and Yukuni. That's a reasonable thing. Keep Togashi Mitsu back for shenanigans. Let's see. So they're into the conflict phase. Alright, Mitsu of course has covert. I forgot about that. I always forget that Mitsu actually has covert. Like, he's way better than he seems as face value. So there's a lot of salt. A lot of salt in the chat. A lot of salt. Now, if this was uh, if this was not upholding authority, but instead abandoning honor, this would be actually really interesting. But yeah, you want this to break as Scorpion. If this was abandoning honor, this could have been a very, very interesting conflict. This, if he doesn't have a Pathfinder's Blade, or if he doesn't have a Finger of Jade or a Reprieve for the Nathan Master, that could have been really dangerous. Fortunately for the Dragon player, he can just play Favorable Ground, move the Nathan Master out, still win this conflict, and just be fine. Dragon is really good at having massive amounts of stats, basically. And sometimes you win games like that. Let's see. The Dragon player has the opportunity to take an action here. I would use Favorable Ground to move Nathan Master out. I think Oryx Wild is basically on full tilt by this point, and it has more or less given up on the game. But the Dragon player still has to be careful, because if you slip up against Scorpion, you just die. It's just how it is. Scorpion just kills you if you slip up. So the Dragon player is actually going to go back up to 4 honor, which is a decent amount of honor, and he's going to have a couple of turns of just big stats on board to get to break the Scorpion player's stronghold. The Scorpion player still has to bid 1 if he wants to keep the honor pressure on, which is, I don't think it's worth it. And Oryx Wild actually has a good point there. Instead of Scorpion is very much the same way that Dragon is in a way. Instead of getting value all the time, he just denies a bunch of value from you because, as he puts it, Scorpion just messes with the other characters very, very well. Let's see. So, the Dragon player is basically thinking out this turn. He just wants to break 2 this turn. So he knows what's under this province right here. This province should by all accounts be Pilgrimage. Maybe it's a Abandoning Honor and the Scorpion player has put Pilgrimage on their stronghold, but I don't think that line of play is really that good. So he actually uses the Favorable Ground to send Togashi Mitsu home rather than the Nathan Master. That sort of implies to me that he actually has a weapon of some sort. I guess we'll see when upholding authority breaks. So, upholding authority. Let's see what's in the Dragon player's hand. Would be pretty interesting to see the lines of play he has. Like if there's any sort of like weapon, I think you still get rid of it because of Nathan Master. Reprieves, maybe you get rid of those. We'll see. Well, yeah, like one thing you have to keep in mind that even though the Dragon player's board is way more expensive, the Dragon player's board is actually have a lot of glory. So if you were able to dishonor the Mitsu and the Yukuni, the total amount of stats on board would be probably on par. Like the Yukuni would be a 2/2. The Nathan Master is actually a 1/1 if you disregard all the attachments, and the Mitsu is a 1/0. And yet again, I think like more or less Oryx Wild has basically given up on this game. But I do understand that Mirumoto Kai doesn't want to do anything weird here because, like I said, like it's so easy to just accidentally die against Scorpion if you are not careful. Yeah, Kai was at one honor, Arash Suri, but he copied the Blackman artist, stole one, and he's about to resolve the airing and gain two more. So he's basically out of the dishonor range. Oh yeah, and Mirumoto Kai very accurately points out that even though Oryx Wild talks a lot of like he's given up, if the dragon player does slip up and becomes careless, he will absolutely pounce on him and smack him about. So yeah, that's the thing. But I definitely think like next turn the Scorpion player should not be afraid to bid. Like if it's 4 to 5 honor, the Scorpion player should not be afraid to bid 2 or 3 and then just use box to steal. I think that's basically been what's been stopping the Scorpion player here, is he hasn't used enough of the box. He started to dishonor the opponent too early. He didn't have enough dishonor cards in hand to close out the game. So he discards Hawk Tattoo. I would probably have discarded the Reprieve. It's probably more important at this point. I don't know. It's hard to say. Yeah, Hawk Tattoo is definitely something you do not discard here because that can just be recurred by Mitsu, regardless. Let's see. Ancient Master, Hawk Tattoo, let's go. Ornate Fan. Yeah, Ornate Reprieve is getting dropped. Probably a Ornate Fan as well to just win this conflict. Two to two. No, he can just actually just box here. The box should be enough to stop him from losing this conflict. Or Void Fist. That's fine. Yeah, Void Fist bows and sends home the Blackmail Artist because this is a monk and he has more military than the monk. He actually just needs more equal. So he plays out 2 cards and just sends him home. Mitsu attacks. Does he go into... Let's see. He has Tattoo Wanderer, an Ancient Master. He has not enough money to play any of those. He has Void Fist. And yeah, okay, what... Void Fist and Let Goes. Does he let go his own stuff just to Void... No, actually he has Convert. Never mind. That's obviously what he does. He just converts. I keep forgetting that Mitsu has Convert. The irony right now is not lost upon me. I don't know what Oryx Wild is on about, but we'll see what happens. The Earth Ring is actually honestly a bit dangerous here because I'll probably go... If I were the Scorpion player here, I'll go fire back and dishonor like Mitsu or Jukuni. One of them, just dishonor him. Of course, the Dragon player is on the Stronghold next turn, but see what happens. We shall see. The Secret Cache, he gets to look at the cards and draw 1. And that's a Kami Unleashed. And he plays it outside of the conflict. Oh, has he got enough to... win the game. So Hurricane Punch just to draw a card. Interesting. So Sacred Catch is broken. And Cloud, I'm guessing that he's actually perfectly fine with discarding that Cloud of Mine on random because he doesn't have a Shigenya to play it. Yeah, you go fire here, right? Restorations and pop it to dishonor both Mitsu and Yukuni. I mean, do you remove one of them completely? Or do you just make them potatoes? That's the big question, right? No, he can go into Resto. It doesn't give him any fate. The Restorations of Balance is already revealed. It doesn't give him any fate. Uh, that's the chat saying stuff. No, that's Restorations of Balance. It's the one that's open. He's already broken Sacred Sanctuary. Yeah, so he does go fire, and he probably just dishonors both of the, like, Mitsu and Yukuni. Yeah, and then we see. Oh, we see a Banzai as well. Wow, that's actually really cool because he's going to break. He's actually going to be on strong. Oh, he kicks the Banzai, so he gets to use his own stronghold, and he gets to be on stronghold for the next turn. That's actually really cool. This is actually a game now because this should be rally. Like the stronghold province should be rally. And I mean, if the Scorpion player gets enough stats, he might no like it's going to be a military conflict regardless of what the Scorpion player does. But yeah, it's actually going to be fairly interesting. I think the Scorpion player does a mistake here if he doesn't bid like 3 and then steals back with a stronghold, I guess. If he could have stolen, if he had a Calling in Favors to steal that reprieve, he would be in a much better situation. Not much better, but a slightly better situation. But yeah, this is going to be a very rough turn. I don't know what I do here as the Scorpion player. It's tough. The Scorpion player is going to be first though, so he has that advantage, and the Dragon player has 0 fate. And I'd buy the Mia Mystic here. Like the Mia Mystic is going to be pretty big this round. Just remove attachments that are otherwise going to buff his potato characters. Right, and then you go Alchemist, and Alchemist is just going to do whatever to your side. But yeah, Oryx Wild is first to pass. I would definitely have bought the Mia Mystic just to have a chance to just discard troublesome attachments. Yeah, Oryx Wild finally draws 3 cards. I think he should have started doing this a long time ago. Now he actually has a semblance of a chance. If you find like a single Fate Worse than Death, he might actually take it. I mean, he can also toss a bunch of stuff to the favored knees that isn't going to help him. He's going to have to go. I mean, I'll probably just grab the Void Ring here. Just grab an extra Fate. If he can survive this turn, like if the Scorpion player can survive this turn, I think he can go into the next turn and be okay if he gets a Void Ring off. probably what you're aiming for. You should not go into the stronghold with a Bayushi Liar. I'd probably go with the favored knees. Because both of these are so dependent on the type of conflict, and yeah, this is just better. And he's rally, and he does go military, so he does still have a political conflict left to try and break it. The game has now officially gone on for 1 hour, by the way, if people were keeping count. So at this point, in a real tournament, I guess the Dragon player... Actually, they are getting to concede or not. So I guess the Dragon player would never concede in these situations. This is 1 point ahead and probably going to break the opponent's stronghold. Interesting. So is there anything that can... So is there any line of play here in these 3 cards? So we could see a... For shame, the Niten Master bows. There is no weapon in his hand. I don't know if he has a weapon, but if there is no weapon in his hand, a for shame to bow the Niten Master. Alright, now he needs slightly more. He needs double for shame and a Banzai. Is that enough? That's not enough. Yeah, it is now like stat impossible for the Scorpion player to win in this conflict. There was a way otherwise, like the... If he found Banzai, Fate Worse Than Death, and For Shame, he could have bowed and sent Fate Worse Than Death sent home, and then Banzai, but then the actual favor would have given him 6-1, so he wouldn't have broken anyway. Yeah, I don't think it's possible here. Oh, we do see a Fate Worse Than Death on Yukuni. Cool. That's actually really cool. And we see a court games to re-honor the Niten Master. There's no I Can Swim Arrestory. I Can Swim, he has 1 of I Can Swim in his list, and it was discarded really early due to restorations of balance. Otherwise, I Can Swim would have been pretty cool. This was the last of Fate Worse Than Death, I think. Fate Worse Than Death, Fate Worse Than Death. Yeah, this was the last Fate Worse Than Death. And we see Niten Master ready up, and then Niten Master is just going to go big and go ham. Yeah. And Oryx Wild gives up. And that's the game. So there's a lot of salt going on in the chat, but I think it's all friendly salt-ish. I mean the in-game chat, not my chat. But it's just how it is. I'm just telling them they're within an hour. No, you guys aren't actually within an hour. You're slightly over an hour. Oh yeah, like what Oryx says, basically, if the Scorpion hits Restoration when he has, what, 10 cards in hand, I think it's just over. it is what it is, but I think it's pretty much literally just over. Like, if the Scorpion player has to discard that many cards, it's going to be so rough. Like, there was, like, he also discarded his 1 of I Can Swim. There was a bunch of times where he could have done a sneaky, like, 2-bid and then just straight up killed a character. A big character. It would have been huge. So, restorations of balance, keeping Scorpion down for now until there's, I guess, neutral province hate that isn't an attachment or something. We'll see. If Scorpion were actually to get sort of like their own cautious scout, I think they'd be really obnoxious. Like I think they'd be super obnoxious. But it is what it is. Um, that's the game, folks. I have some other stuff to tend to. I'll probably stream some more of me playing some random stuff later this evening if people, for some reason, want to watch that. But this game is over. The winner is Mirumoto Kai with Dragon against the Scorpion of Oryx Wild. Thank you very much for watching, and I guess I'll see you guys some other time.